All right, Jabosai, good evening. Let us begin. Baruch Hashem, a lot to do tonight. So we are on Yud Amud Beis, 10b, and we left off, Baruch Hashem, three lines into the wide lines. So the Gemara says, Vatomer el Isha, Hine no yadati ki, Vatomer el Isha, Hine no yadati ki ish Elokim kadoshu. So remember again, also we were talking about the story with Elisha and the Isha Shunamis, the Shunammite woman. And remember again, yesterday's daf we were talking about the idea that she made for Elisha, a room either roofed off a part of like a balcony, like a terrace, or split a room in half, but she made a room for him. Now she tells her husband that I know that this man is a man of God and he's very holy. So this is actually very profound. The Gemara says it's interesting that the woman, right, the Isha Shunamis, she discerned that Elisha was a holy man faster than her husband did. So the Gemara says, you see from here that in general, a woman is able to discern who the quality of the guests in her home. I will say in general, again, women often have a better intuition when it comes to people. Right, women often have a better opportunity. This is the nitziv. I'll just tell you an interesting nitziv. The nitziv brings down that when Sari Minu tells Avram to go ahead and send away Yishmael. So remember, Avram is reticent. What does Chash Baruch Hu say? Kol asher tamari lecha Sarah, shma bekola. Whatever Sarah tells you, listen to her. And Rashi HaKadosh comments, and he says, you see from here that Avram was tafel. He was secondary to Sarah with Ruach HaKodesh. So then Tziv, in Emek Davra says, I don't understand how that makes sense. We never once find God talking to Sarah, and we find Hashem talking to Avram Avinu all the time. So how can you say that Sarah was greater than Avram Avinu in prophecy? And the Tziv says, it doesn't say Nevuah, it says Ruach HaKodesh. Then Tziv posits that Ruach HaKodesh is not prophecy, but rather Ruach HaKodesh can mean intuition. That as much as Avram Avinu was kind of out and about in the public face, Sarah understood people better than Avram understood people. And Sarah understood the impact that people could have on those around them better than Avram Avinu. So this is incredible. So that says, that Sarah Avinu had a greater intuition just regarding the nature of people than Avram Avinu did. Incredible. So therefore, again, you see from here, she recognized the greatness of their guest. So the Gemara, so from where did she see the holiness of Elisha? Right, what is it that she saw? That led her to say that this man is so holy? So Rav Shmuel Chad Amar Shelo Rasa Zvuv over Ashulchano. So one says she never saw a fly. There was never a fly, right, by Elisha. Never a fly by Elisha. Okay. V'chad Amar Sadin Shal Pishtan Etzia Amitaso V'lo Rasa Keri Alov. Others say that she would change the sheets. They would put a linen sheet, and she never saw traces of a seminal emission on the sheet. The idea being, now what does it mean? So Rashi points out over here that sometimes a person could have a seminal emission not just as a result of desire or lust, but also sometimes as a result of journeying, of the stress of a journey. So interestingly enough, he never had a seminal emission. So that a person's ability to control themselves in that way, she recognized Kedusha. Well, this is also an incredible yesod, because what you see from here, that ultimately is, what is the greatest form of Kedusha? The greatest form of Kedusha is restraining one's self in matters of immorality. This is already again on the pasuk of Kedoshim Tiyu, right? Parash Kedoshim Tiyu. What does Rashi say? Have a prushim in arayos. Separate yourself from immorality. We know the hardest thing in life is to separate oneself from immorality. Everybody struggles with this, just in different degrees. The Kedusha is the ability to kind of draw that barrier, to draw that line between that which is moral and that which is immoral. Pretty incredible. She was contrasting that Elisha's holy, but his attendant or his servant wasn't so. Remember again, his servant was a guy named Gehazi. So what happened? Shene'emar, Vayigash Gehazi lahadfa, so actually it's a wild Gemara that Gehazi inappropriately touched the Isha Shunamis. He inappropriately fondled her, and therefore again, so he inappropriately touched her. So and again, there are a number of stories like this. I mean, not like this with Gehazi, but ultimately again, kind of exploiting his position of power for personal gain. for personal gain. Okay. So Mar goes right to over alinu tamid. So she says to her husband, remember, this is where she's telling her husband that we have to build Elisha a proper room. He comes to us often. And so we should build for him proper accommodations. So Lashon is over alinu tamid. He comes to us or he passes by us often. Rabbi Yosef Chanina, Mishum Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Kala ma'areach Talmid Chacham b'soch beiso, whoever hosts a Talmid Chacham in his home, umenano min chasav, and allows him to benefit from his property, ma'ala alav akasav ki'ilu makriv timidin. It is treated as if he has offered up karbanos. So we'll say, what's the connection over here? She was lashon of tamid, right? The Navi comes to us tamid. Whoever goes ahead and hosts a Talmid Chacham in their home and shares of their possessions with a Talmid Chacham, it's as if you're offering up a carbon. That's a beautiful idea, carbon Talmid. Rabbi Yosef ben Yaakov. Actually, another beautiful Gemara. Al Yamod Adam b'makom gavoa v'yispalal. Actually, interesting. A person shouldn't stand in a high spot, in a high place, and daven. Shouldn't daven from a high spot. Rather, a person should stand in a lower area and daven. Why? As the pasuk says, from the depths I call out to you, Hashem. So the idea being over here, I'll say, by the way, if you ever daven, some shuls have, if you ever daven at the Agudah, right? So if you notice again, from where the Shliach Tzibor davens, it's a depressed area. Not a depressed area. It's a lower area, right? It's lower area. So what's interesting is, what is that based on? That's based on the Gemara, that ultimately, again, the concept of davening mima'amakim. Taina Raisa that supports this. Lo ya'amod adam al gabi kisi v'lo gabi shraf v'lo b'makom gavoa. Person shouldn't stand on a chair or on a bench or in any high place v'yispalo. Ella b'makom namoch v'yispalo. Rather, a person should daven in a lower place and stand in a lower place and daven. L'fishein gafus lifnei hamakom. For there is no arrogance in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shene'emar mima'amakim kurasich Hashem. Hashem call out to you from the depths. Uksiv tefila la'ani ki ya'atov. Ultimately, again, the tefillah of the poor person when he wraps himself. So Bo says, the idea being over here is actually very interesting that, where we daven, and kind of like the surroundings or the circumstances in our tefillah experience absolutely have an impact on the quality of the tefillah experience. In other words, who cares where you stand? Because where you stand and how you stand has a dramatic impact on the nature and the quality of the tefillah. Very beautiful. When you daven, specifically on Shmona Esrei, you're supposed to keep your feet together. When the Navi describes the Malachim, it describes the Malachim as having one foot. Now, in fact, they don't have 1 foot, they have 2 feet, but they stand at constant attention with their feet together. So therefore, when one davens Shmona Esrei, ultimately one assumes the posture of a malach. We'll say, what does it mean when the pasuk says, literally, do not eat on the blood? Now we'll say, the literal translation, the literal understanding of that pasuk is, don't eat blood. Don't eat blood. There's actually a number of prohibitions in the Torah not to eat blood. What does it mean? Lo sochlu al adam. Do not go ahead and eat on the blood. Lo sochlu kodem shetispalu al dimchem. Don't eat before you daven for your life. In other words, don't take care of your own needs, I should say differently. Don't take care of your physical needs before you take care of your spiritual needs. So don't eat before you daven. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yosef Berachos, Mishum Elazar ben Yaakov, Kala Ochel v'Shosel, Shoseh, Be'achach Mispalo. Any person who eats and drinks and only then davens, Alav HaKasel. Over about such a person, the pasuk says, Va'osi hishlachta acharei gavecha. They have thrown me behind their back. They throw me behind their back. Al tikri gavecha ela ge'echa. Don't read it as gavecha. Back, brother, ge'echa, your arrogance. Your arrogance. So we'll say I will just say, he says, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu la'achar shenisga ezeh kibel alav malchus shamayim. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, after this guy ate the breakfast of champions, right? So now again, he's taking care of his own physical needs. Now he has time for me. So is we know this halacha. Of course, it doesn't apply if somebody has a health condition, they need to take medication, they can't take medication on an empty stomach. Of course, this doesn't apply. There's a whole very interesting discussion about what to do on Shabbos morning, right? If davening is going to take a little bit longer, right? Is there the ability to eat something before davening in that situation? So again, there's different minhagim by the Hasidim, and different than this. But Lamaisa, the Gemara is trying to teach us a system of priorities in life. That in life, always prioritize your spiritual needs over your physical ones. Incredible. Rabbi Shmuel, back to the Mishnah. So Rabbi Shmuel says that you could say Shema up until 3 hours into the day. Amr Yehuda Shmuel, halacha Rabbi Yoshua. So ultimately, halacha is like Rabbi Yoshua. We'll say, and that indeed is the halacha. So when we speak about Zman Kriya Shema is up until 3 hours after sunrise. Now, of course, again, we'll talk about this more in the 4th chapter. It's not regular hours. It's what we call sha'os zmanios, halachic hours. But you have up until 3 hours into the day to go ahead and recite Shema. Hakori mikan ve'elech lo hifsid. So we'll say, what happens if you missed the first 3 hours? You overslept. So now it's 4 hours, 5 hours into the day. So what's the halacha? You still say Shema. Why? Because saying Shema after the zman, after the time, is no worse than what? Just reading a passage in the Torah. No, we're reading a passage in the Torah. Fine. The only thing is, you don't say Berachos Kriya Shema. So in other words, after 3 hours of the day, you could say Shema, because it's no different than just reading a passage in the Torah, but you don't recite Berachos Kriya Shema. Meisve, is that true? Hakori mikan ve'elech lo hefsid kadam shu kori batorah, aval mevarichu shtayim lefanecha v'achas lachareha tiyufta d'Rav Chisda tiyufta. Shabbos say we have another brayso, and what does the brayso say? That if you miss Zman Kriya Shema, right? Ultimately, again, you should still read Shema because it's no different than reading a section in the Torah, and you should say the Berachos. So that's an effective refutation of Rav Chisda's position. So Rabbi say what seems to be what the Gemara is saying is halacha l'maisa. Even if you miss Zman Kriya Shema, you still say Shema because it's at least like reading something in the Torah, and you also still say the brachas. Others say, Amr Rav Chisda, Amr Mar Ukva, Milo Hifsid. What does it mean you didn't lose out? Shalo Hifsid Berachos. That even if you missed the 3 hours into the day, you didn't lose out on the ability to say Berachos Kriya Shema. Taina Hachei writes that supports this. Hakore mikan ve'elech, lo hifsid ke'adam shekore batorah. Aval mevarichu shtayim lefaneha v'achas li'achareha. So Rabbi say, so this is actually the halacha. It's interesting halacha. So what happens? Halacha l'maisa, a person misses Zman Kriya Shema. So let's go through this, right? So let's say again, sunrise is at 6 o'clock. You're allowed to go ahead and say Shema until 9 o'clock. Let's just, for illustration purposes, you wake up at 9:30. So what happens? The good news is you're still early for Chabad, right? You're still early for Chabad, right? You're good, right? You have until 10. Hey, so what happens? What happens now? So what do I do? So let's go through this. Do I say Shema? Yes. What mitzvah do I get? Torah, right? It's the mitzvah Talmud Torah. That's what I get. Now, do I say brachos? So what does the Gemara seem to indicate? Yes. Now I will say the halacha l'maisa says like this. Berachos Kriya Shema is actually interesting. As much as Berachos Kriya Shema are attached to Shema, they're not considered Shema. Instead, what are they considered? They're considered tefillah. So therefore, Berachos Kriya Shema are governed by the time for tefillah, not the time for Shema. We're going to see Shmona Esrei. You have up until later into the day. We'll get to whatever time that is, right? Whether that's going to be 4 hours, chatzos, we'll talk about all of that. But lamaisa, it's not just the pshat that you can say Berachos Kriya Shema anytime. You can say Berachos Kriya Shema as long as you are existing within the proper time for tefillah, for prayer. But once ultimately, again, you've missed Zman Tefillah, will you still say Shema? Yeah. Why? Because it's Torah. It's beautiful. But you would not say Berachos Kriya Shema. But assuming I missed that 3 hours, but let's say I'm still within the Zman of Tefillah, you say Shema and the brachas. Incredible. Let's go right there. So the Gemara ends off by saying as follows. The Gemara is Amar Rabbi, Amar Mani. Gadol hakori Kriya Shema ba'onasa, Yosem osek b'Torah. This is incredible. Reading Shema in its appropriate time is greater than learning Torah. So how do we know this? Midiktani hakori mikan ve'elech lo hifsid ke'adam hakori b'Torah. Because we'll see, what does the Mishnah say? If you miss the Zman of Shema, you can still say it. Why? It's no worse than reading psukim from Torah. So what do you see from that? So the Gemara says, what do you see from that? Michlal The Korei Ba'anasa Adif. So we'll say, so the fact that the Mishnah frames it that way indicates to us what? That reading Shema in its right time is even greater than Talmud Torah. Which we'll say is such a profound statement because Torah is one of the most powerful things we have. So what's the pshat? That Shema is greater than Torah. What's the pshat? It's logical. We'll say, what's Shema? What's Shema? Shema is the establishment of relationship. It's Kabbalah's Ol Malchus Shamayim. Kadosh Baruch Hu, I accept you in my life. Without Shema, Torah is not meaningful. Without Shema, mitzvos aren't meaningful. Shema creates the relationship between myself and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Once there's relationship, then everything else could happen within the confines of that. No relationship, sometimes it's hard to go ahead and figure out the meaning. I will say, a lot of times in life, by the way, you see this, that when sometimes we struggle with Yiddishkeit, it's not really because I have a problem with a particular mitzvah, a particular action, a particular obligation. It's because I'm lacking relationship. And if I'm lacking relationship, then what do I need this for? Right? In other words, if I'm not in a committed relationship with Kadosh Baruch Hu, so why do I need all of these details? That's the power of Shema. Shema is a solidification and the concretization of a relationship with the Ribono Shel Olam. That's why the Gemara says Shema itself is even more important than Talmud Torah. Incredible. We'll say new Mishnah. This is a great Mishnah. Beis Shammai Omrim, Be'erev Kol Adam Yata V'Yikra U'Baboker Yamod. Beis Shammai, we'll say, has an obligation for the position you are to assume when you recite Shema. It's actually a pretty incredible Gemara. So Beis Shammai says, at night, for the nighttime Shema, you have to be laying down. Yata literally means like not on your back, but rather really on your side. And in the morning, you have to be standing. Where does he get this from? Shene Amar, B'shach B'cha U'V'kumecha. Because the pasuk says you say Shema when? B'shach B'cha, when you lay down, U'V'kumecha, when you stand up. So Beis Shammai is understanding that literally, Torah is telling you the physical position you have to assume when reciting Shema. Beis Hillel says no. Kol Adam Kori Kedarko, Shene Amar V'lechtecha B'derech. Beis Hillel says no, that's not true. What position do you have to assume for Shema? What position? Whatever position you want, sitting, standing, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. Sa'ai, the Gemara says, Im kain, lama ne'amar b'shach b'chav kumecha, I, so Beis Hillel. So then why does the pasuk say, b'shach b'cha, when you lie down and when you get up? What do you learn from that? So Beis Hillel understands not position, but what? Timing. B'shah shebnei adam shochlin, or b'shah shebnei adam omdin. So Beis Hillel say, b'shach b'cha kumecha tells you, the nighttime Shema is said at a time when people normally go to sleep, and the morning Shema is said when? At a time when people normally get up. So we'll say, so fundamental machlokes in Beis Shammai Silo. What do you do b'shah b'chav kumecha? Beis Shammai will say b'shah b'chav kumecha teaches you the physical posture. You're supposed to assume when reciting Shema. So at night, lay down. In the morning, stand up. Beis Hillel have nothing to do with physical posture, rather timing. You recite the morning Shema when people get up, the nighttime Shema when people go to sleep. So the Mishnah ends off, Rabbi Tarfon says, Ani hayisi baba derech, one time I was traveling, v'hitesi likros kedivrei Beis Shammai, and I laid down on the side of the road. I laid down on the side of the road to read Shema like Beis Shammai. V'sakanti ba'asim ne'alistim. And I realized afterwards I put myself in mortal danger because there were bandits out, right? And if there were bandits and I was laying down on the side of the road, I'm easy prey. And I realized I put my life in danger. Amrulo, they said to him, Kedai hayisalachov ba'atzmecha sha'avart al divrei Beis Hillel. You know what? Had something happened to you, you would have deserved it. Strong words. You would have deserved it. Why? Because I will say, this is what you never do. Like when someone admits they made a mistake. You're right. You did. But again, I will say this is to drive home a point. They gave Rabbi Tarfon Musar. Why? Because Rabbi Tarfon, why are you adopting the position of Beis Shammai over the position of Beis Hillel, right? The overwhelming majority of time we paskin like Beis Hillel. So they said, what were you doing? What were you doing lying down on the side of the road? You took your life into your own hands, and if something would have happened to you, you would have deserved it. Why? Because ultimately, again, you violated the words of Hillel, and you went with the words of Beis Shammai. All right, Tabas, we'll stop over here for tonight. Stay tuned. I know everybody is glued to the poll, the WhatsApp poll. We'll see. Miras Hashem where it comes out. It looks like 740 is currently in the lead. And Miras Hashem, I apologize. I meant to put out 9. I have a conflict at 9 o'clock, so I have to choose an earlier Zman. So whatever. We'll give it through tonight to Miras Hashem, and then we'll announce the poll results. Somebody told me there's some irregularities in some of the polling, so we'll see. A recount. We might have to do a recount. But all right, we'll say shkayach everyone.